All right, welcome to the 12 tips to speed up your editing freebie and guide. I am going to be doing a full video walkthrough so that you can visually see what each one of these settings looks like. So first off, we are going to go ahead and optimize our catalog. Optimizing your catalog is just going to help it run a lot faster. And so the way that I always will find any setting in Lightroom is if I don't know where something is, I would just type or I'll click on help and then type in what I'm looking for. And then if you hover over it, it'll tell you exactly where it is. So as you can see, this is under File, Optimize Catalog. So it'll tell you the date that it was last optimized. And so if you haven't optimized it recently, or if your Lightroom is running really slowly, this is the number one hack to speed it up. So tip number 2 is actually a really simple one. I always recommend closing out of other applications. Chrome is a really big one. Google Chrome or Safari are two really big applications that take up a lot of computer space. So if you notice that your Lightroom is running slow, or you're going to be doing a lot of editing in Lightroom. Okay, so the next tip is to edit natively on your computer. Now this one sounds confusing, so I'm going to walk you through what that would look like. Assuming that we're going to pretend that this is a hard drive. This is actually an SD card, but pretending that this was your hard drive, if your catalog and all of your raw files are here, you're going to make a copy of your catalog, your Lightroom catalog. You're hit Control-C or Command-C and then paste it onto your desktop. And then what you're going to do once you open up the catalog, say you find your catalog, the copy of it that's on your computer desktop, you can rename it if you want to say working copy or something like that, just so that they're differentiated between the original hard drive catalog versus the one that's on your computer now. And then you're going to go ahead and open that up. And what you're going to do is while your hard drive is still plugged in, this is really important. What you want to do is go to Library, you're going to go to Previews, and then you're going to build Smart Preview. And basically what that's going to do is Lightroom is going to take each one of these photos and make almost a smaller copy that you can still edit. And then once it's gone through and created all of those smart previews for you, what you can actually do is you're going to go ahead and click over here into eject your hard drive. And then what you want to do is from your catalog that's on your computer, you can go over to develop mode. And this guy here says smart preview. So as you can see, this was something that I had done for the specific catalog. I'll go out of this for a second. I had created the smart previews. So the full raw files are actually still on that hard drive. They're not on my computer currently. The biggest caveat to this is before you go to export all your images, you want to make sure that your hard drive is plugged back in so that it has those original raw files to be able to export the full edited JPEG version. If you try to go to export your images without having those raw files and having your hard drive plugged in, it's going to give you a message that says, we don't have the original files. Your exported images are going to be of a lower quality. So just make sure that when you're exporting your images, you actually have the hard drive plugged in. Okay, going along with that, what I always do is whenever I'm working on a catalog, what I'm going to do is hit Command or Control-A to select every single image in the catalog. And what I do is I actually go through and create standard size previews as well. So again, this is just making a smaller file size so that when you go to load every single image individually, it loads pretty quickly. Like you can see, I'm like going through these really quickly. If you don't have the standard size previews built, it's going to take like 1 to 3 seconds to load every single photo. So if your Lightroom catalog is doing that, that's a really good tip and trick to just go ahead and build those standard size previews. It takes a couple of minutes, so just let it run. And then when you come back, you should be able to flip through your images pretty quickly like I just showed you. The only thing is with the standard size previews, the reason why I don't do one-to-one previews, so you have the option here of doing Library. I don't build one-to-one previews because this takes a lot longer. It also takes a lot of space, and I really only need a full-size one-to-one preview if I need to zoom in on a lot of photos and have it zoom in and load really quickly, which I generally don't need to do as I'm bulk editing for weddings. I'm usually able to still see if there's like a group photo like this. I'm still able to see pretty quickly just by zooming in a little bit, like this is good enough for me to load. As you can see, it's not the best quality or anything like that, but I can still tell that everyone's like eyes are open or that he's making like a funny face here. And that's fast enough and good enough for me. But making sure that you're creating the standard size previews before you go to start to edit is going to make the whole editing process a lot faster and a lot easier for you. Okay, tip number 5 is a really good one, and it is increasing your performance speed. So this is a new trick that I learned this year, and I swear it makes your Lightroom run so much faster. So what you're going to do is you're actually going to go over here. So if you're in the library mode, you're going to click on the top here where it says Lightroom Classic, and you're going to hit Preferences. So and then this also goes with the next tip of making sure that if you haven't, go ahead and purge that cache. It's going to get rid of some extra files that you probably don't really need anymore. It's just background files that the software uses. It's not going to mess with anything on the front end. So if you haven't done that before, highly recommend purging the cache and setting your maximum size to be 100 gigs underneath the Preferences tab. Okay, next tip for you guys. As you can see, this is a pretty large catalog. So there are about 884 pictures in this catalog. What I recommend is always, as you can actually tell, this one's fully edited. But what I recommend is actually editing from the bottom of the catalog. So the last picture you took all the way up to the top, because generally the reception images are not as super nice and pretty, like portraits and details and all of that stuff. And so I like to get what feels like the hardest photos for me to edit out of the way first. Also, I really like starting with the reception images because they just feel a little bit easier for me to edit too. And so for me, it's just very motivating as I'm going back through the day. I get to like this section of really, really nice and pretty portraits. And then I actually end up with all of the like really beautiful details and everything like that in the getting ready. Another tip for you is if you're not, go ahead and section the day into collections. So the way that you're going to do that, I actually haven't done that for this one. So I'm going to go ahead and show you is you're going to go ahead and select all of the images. So I try to do a collection for every single part of the wedding. So that starts with details and getting ready is usually the first section. I have one collection for the bride, and then I have a second collection for the groom's getting ready. The third one is going to be first look and portraits or just bride and groom portraits. The next collection is going to be the bridal party. I have a collection separately for the family portraits and family formals. The ceremony obviously gets its own collection as well. Have a collection for cocktail hour, and then have a collection that's just for reception decor. And then for the reception, I don't break it into a ton of different collections. For me, I will split it up into reception events. That's the entrances, the toasts, the dances, speeches, cake cutting. That all goes under reception events for me. And then I have one that just says reception candids. So that's all of the open floor dancing, all of the candid shots, all of the dance floor shots and everything like that. And then depending on how many photos of an exit, if they did an exit, sometimes I'll put the exit in a separate collection. Photographer's choice, so do whatever feels best for you, but separate those all out into collections. Okay, so let me show you what that actually looks like within Lightroom. As you can tell, this is the first reception image. So I'm gonna go until right about here. This was the end of their first dances. And so what you're gonna do is hit new collection with all the images selected you want to be in the new collection. And then I always number these. So for example, details, like I said, and bride getting ready would be 1. And then for your second collection, it would be like groom getting ready. You would just use that naming system so that all of your collections are actually in order of the day. And so generally it's like reception events is usually 8 or 9. So I'm going to pretend that it's 8. I don't put it inside a collection set. I just keep it as a standalone collection. And then to make sure that I have include selected photos so that it's already going to include all of these photos that I've selected to be a part of this specific collection. Sometimes I'll go ahead and set this as a target collection as well. I'll show you how you can use that. Say you forgot a photo. So it's going to pull it into its new collection, and you can navigate that over here on the side. As you can see, this is like all the catalog photos. And then if you expand on collections, you can see, oh, we just have our reception events. So this plus means that that's the target collection. So say that I'm on here, say that I'm in the full catalog and I forgot to add this specific reception photo. What I'm going to do is I can either hit right click and then add to target collection, or if you just click B, I'm going to show you. So right now there's 69 photos in here, right? Hit B, it's going to say, oh, you have 70 photos in it. So if you want to just make all of the collections individually, say you want to do reception candids, include selected photos. You don't have any selected photos yet, just set it as the target collection. You can just create it. There's gonna be like no photos in here, but then you go back to your full catalog and say you want to add all of these guys, like we'll go up into here. You can just select them and then hit B, and then it'll go ahead and add it into your target collection. So that is how you can sort them into collections, and that way when you're editing, you don't have to think about, oh, I have 884 images to edit today. You can say, okay, today I just want to finish all of the reception candids and all of the reception event photos that I'm going to focus on within this hour that I'm working. I only need to finish the 118 photos as an example. For me, this is just a psychological tip to help break down the goal of finishing editing a big wedding into smaller and manageable chunks rather than just feeling like I'm editing for hours and hours on end. Okay, the next tip is to edit what I call your anchor images first. So the anchor images are just going to be a small percentage of the full wedding day gallery that are the highlights of the wedding day. So you can mark these photos however you want. And I tend to mark them with this flag. And so the way that you do that is by clicking on the photo in the library view or in the develop view and hitting P on your keyboard. So it flags it as a picked photo. If you want to get rid of it, you just hit U and it unflags it. And so what's really nice is you can actually go ahead down here and filter by just seeing the flagged photos. So you can see that for me, when I was editing this wedding, these were my anchor images that I edited first as the highlights. What you're going to do is you're going to go ahead and edit these 127 photos first. You can actually make sure that all of your edits are consistent across the entire wedding day rather than looking at the full gallery of 800 and something. And then what you're going to do is once you have done this on a separate day, usually is when I go in and sync all of my edits. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that this isn't filtered. If I start at the back, I start towards the back like I mentioned. And generally what I'll do is I will go until I hit a flagged anchor photo. And then I'm going to apply the same settings from this to everything that's in the same location. So as you can see, they haven't really moved. I'm just getting a variety of like poses and stuff. And so then you're going to sync Command Shift S these edits onto all of these guys. And then I also will hit Command Option Shift M or do what is called match total exposures, which is another one of the tips in the guide, which basically means that Lightroom is going to attempt to make sure that every single image has the same exposure as this one. So whichever one is your main first image that you're selecting, do you see how this is a little bit brighter white than these guys? These are gray. This is your main one, so it's going to try to match the exposure as closely possible to this specific photo. So then what I do while I'm editing is I'm going to right click on this photo. This is my anchor photo, so I set it as my reference photo, which is really nice because when you go to develop on the film strip, you can see that this is my anchor image. When I go right, you can see, okay, I'm going to edit this image now next, right? If you just go ahead and hit Shift R on your keyboard, or if you look up Open Reference View, as you can see, it's under Photo, Open in Reference View, it's going to pull up this flagged photo as my reference photo. So usually I close this out and then I have this, like all of these guys open. And then I'm just going to try to match all of these remaining photos in the set to this one anchor image. So that's how you use reference mode to edit really quickly for really consistent edits as well. Okay, I really recommend getting familiar with the Lightroom keyboard shortcuts because it's going to save you so much time to toggle between these different settings, toggle between these different views. If you hit G as in giraffe, you're going to go back to library mode. If you click on a photo and you hold down Shift and then you click on another photo, it's going to select multiple photos for you. If you do Command Option Shift M, that's match total exposures. Command Shift S is synchronized settings. That's a really helpful one. If you just want to one-off copy and paste some photo settings, you have to go to the Develop tab. You have to hit Command C, so it pulls up the copy bar, and then I can go ahead and hit Command V to paste this one here. A really great one that saves me a lot of time is the button R is going to open up the cropping and straightening tool. And if you hit R again, it takes you out of that mode. But if I hit R, it just comes back up. And those are some of the main ones that I can think of off the top of my head. And then Shift R, like I mentioned, is going to bring you back into the reference versus active mode of bringing up reference view. Something else that I use occasionally is if I want to look at, say, these 4 images, like obviously I can look at them in the grid view. If you hit plus, it actually makes the thumbnails larger in your library collection. If you hit minus, it kind of zooms out so you can see more images at a time. But if you just want to see a comparison of just these 4 photos, you can go ahead and hit N and it's going to pull open just these 4 photos. Some other really handy shortcuts, keyboard shortcuts, are for the whole tagging system. So like I mentioned, if you hit P, it's going to flag that photo. If you hit U, like it is going to remove the flag. And then the numbers are going to help you put different ratings to the photos. I'm going to get rid of that. If you want to, I press 0 to just get it back to 0 stars. If you want to use colors, that's actually like 6, 7. 6 is red, 7 is yellow, 8 is green, 9 is blue. And then if you want to get rid of them, you just hit the same number again. So I'm going to hit 9. And so it takes the blue label show off. And so those are some really handy shortcuts to use as you are editing. And then the last 2 tips that I have for you to really dramatically increase your editing speed is one, to edit with the Contour Shuttle Pro tool. So let me show you what that guy looks like. So basically this plugs right into your computer, and it's like a mini keyboard where every one of these buttons is mapped to one of those keyboard shortcuts that I just mentioned. It's super ergonomical, and there's a little dial so you can change the settings really, really quickly and easily, like changing the white balance and the contrast and the exposure and everything like that. And so this actually saves you so much time. I actually have a full YouTube video on exactly how I have mine configured, why I love it so much, all the benefits of using this, so be sure to check that out. And then the second thing is to actually get started with using AI editing. So my software of choice has been Imagen AI or Imagine AI. I don't actually know which way is pronounced. So once you feel like you've really gotten very quick at editing, you have a consistent style, you have a lot of images that you can give to the AI software so that it starts to learn your editing style, and then give yourself some time to tweak and refine your AI editing profile. And I have a full YouTube video that walks you through how to get Imagen AI set up, how to use it, my best practices for using it as well. So I hope that this freebie and tutorial was super, super helpful and taught you some things that you maybe didn't know about in Lightroom, or gave you a quick refresher on things that you did know. So let me know if you have any questions. You can always just shoot me an Instagram DM over at Manali Sontake, and I would be more than happy to answer them.